Two. Hello, can anybody hear me? Sound check, please. Hey, Friesen, can you hear me all right? Is the sound working? Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. So I didn't mess around with I don't need to mess around with the microphone. Good deal. Okay. Good deal. Well, until everybody else shows up, you got any questions? You want me to look at something for you? Or give me, thoughts on the market in general? Any questions? All right. So I'm going to go into Bitcoin real quick. I'm going to give, just a recap of my red alert. Okay. Let's go back here and this is a 4-hour chart that I'm looking at. Okay. Back here again, not to rehash everything I went in the video last night, but when I see things like the Bollinger Band's pinching right here, and they're getting close right here, and you're hitting the top, right? If price can't break out, then you can expect it's probably going to roll over. So that's where we're at right now, at least on the 4-hour chart. Got to be real careful here. Okay, real careful. You can't just buy something just because it's down here. We know that the 10 EMA is resistance now. The 50 is resistance. The 20 is resistance. So these are all resistance zones, right? And so we're risking the possibility that we're going to drop all the way back here to 59.60. Okay? And so I don't think now, in my opinion, okay, and I could be totally wrong, is the time to be buying Bitcoin. I think there's a better opportunity probably down here, but you could do it one of two ways, right? You either can buy a little bit here at the 78.6 retracement, which is usually a pretty good bounce zone. There's still underlying support from a different fib retracement down here at the 38.2 at 5,800. And that's the area I was talking about that I do not want Bitcoin to go below. All right. This has been a decent move from the bottoms, right? Low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, and higher low. Well, we're starting to break that trend just a little bit. So that gives me caution here. Okay. And not only that, but with everything that's going on in the world right now, I mean, I get it. why are people being too bullish right now? And it's just not the time, right? We're close, but now's not the time. And I need to refresh my screen. Give me 1 second. It's getting a little blurry. Let me refresh that so you can see it better. All right, there we go. All right, so sorry about that, guys. I had to refresh my screen so you could see it a little bit better. So anyway, as long as we can make higher lows, and that's why I'm saying do not go below 5,800, because that technically would be a higher low, right? This is the area that needs to hold for Bitcoin. So, let's just be patient for now. And I know it sucks. People want to trade and they want to make money, but err on the side of caution. RSI is pretty weak on the 4-hour. And not only that, but I hate when I see that things can't get past, especially on trying to bounce through something, it can't get past the 10 EMA. I'm not saying it can't do that tonight or tomorrow, but just wait for confirmation, right? Just be careful here. Let's go to a daily chart. And as I said a long time ago, this whole pattern right here just looked very corrective, right? We had the big, massive move down, and this was nothing but a choppy move up, right? So now price, you would like to see at least maybe it come back and retest the lows just to make sure, right? Hi, Juan. How are you doing? Thank you, sir. Good to have you on board. Thank you very much. So I would just say be patient, guys. I know it's hard in this market. I know everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to take a trade every day. Sometimes it's better just to, just do something else. Go watch a movie. It's not like Bitcoin is going to go 1,000 points in 2 minutes, right? I mean, now we know it can do it in 1 day, but still, it's not like we're missing anything just yet, right? There's no, I don't see, unless there's a vaccine for the COVID-19, I just don't see things doing a whole lot. So, hey, crypto fan, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I'll take a look at XRP. I actually kind of like that one, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it right now, guys. I mean, and we have to let these Bollinger Bands pull in a little bit tighter. And I can obviously see, this lower Bollinger Band is support down here. Just watch for, you could get a move out of nowhere that brings it all the way back down here. But I'm not expecting that like tomorrow or the next day. I mean, obviously we could drop below 6,000 pretty quick, but just be cautious out there. Okay. Any questions on Bitcoin? Any questions? All right, so let's go look at XRP, crypto fan. Let's take a look at it. Oh, wait a second. Weekly close. All right, so let me pull up the weekly. And obviously, I think I'm going to have to, I mean, this call that I made back here, it was just a theory, right? But that theory is going out the window pretty quick, unless something drastic, like we get a vaccine or something, and you get some sort of positive news out of Bitcoin. But, right now it's hard to say, guys. It really is. It's tough to call. I like the fact that once it was outside the Bollinger Bands, it pulled back in. And here, let me switch over to a weekly real quick. And, again, this looked good back here, right? This looked good. We were, getting back above moving averages and just couldn't make a higher high. That's what it boils down to. There's sellers up here at 10,000. So there's plenty of them there. The good news for Bitcoin, at least, is that it's holding the 200 and the 233 day moving average, right? So on a closing basis, I do not want to see anything close below that 233. Okay, this is, when you go back and look at it, guys, this has been like the do not go, close below line forever, right? Even on the big massive drop from the highs, we came back and retested the 200 and the 233, but never closed below it and bounced sharply off of it. So, is that what we're going to try to do right here? That's going to be the question. I mean, things are massively oversold. We get that. We understand it. But still, you want to be careful in times like these. Nobody knows what this virus is going to do. There's stories that, we're going to peak in, mid-April to late April, maybe even into May. But that's a long time out, guys. So anyway, let's just make sure we get a close above 7,400. That's what I want to see bullish-wise, to get this thing rolling in the right direction again. Okay? So what I'm looking for, to be honest with you, is I'm looking for, on the daily chart, and I'll go back over here, I would like to see this pull back in just a little bit, right? Not much. That's why I posted that chart in the Discord channel. I wanted to see this just kind of go sideways here for a little bit. Let these Bollinger Bands tighten up, and then let's maybe get this one up and then bounce and go higher. I went over this in my video the other night, and if we go back and look at this low, you see how this was? I mean, this was the drop from 20,000, and you see it's just painful, right? It just keeps going lower, lower, lower until it finally just goes sideways for a while. See that? And we can make some comparisons, right? Okay? Like, if that's the bottom and you get the big spike up, maybe you do get a move back to 7 or 7,500, but that's going to be an area that it pulls back from, right? And goes sideways. Let the 200 and the 233, which are way up here, let them go down a little bit more. Maybe summertime is going to be the time for Bitcoin. I mean, we'll see. I was thinking it'd be much sooner, but we'll see. There's a lot of technical damage here, guys. This is not going to be just a straight drop and then a V and then come back and go to 10,000 again. It's just not. So everybody needs to quit kidding themselves and come back to reality and just face it that this thing is going to go sideways for a while. I mean, we're probably looking mid to late April of this thing maybe going sideways a little bit more. Okay? Well, CryptoFib, it could. I mean, it's very possible. But the chances are less likely now since we got this hard rejection right here off 7,000. So 7,000 is going to be an area to watch when you're coming back up. You can see right here that just turns into resistance. Okay? So, like I'm saying, I would love to see Bitcoin just hang in this 5,800 to 59, maybe where we're at now, 6,200, just bounce in between there and then just go sideways for a little while. Okay? Build a base, right? We need a base to build off of. And right now, this is technically still longer term bearish, okay? And short term bullish. And very short-term bearish. Okay? All right. So let's go look at XRP. And this one's rather interesting on the daily chart. And one of the reasons I kind of like it is the reason right here, the 10 EMA. as long as that can hold, this thing, and the Bollinger Bands are getting very tight. So you're going to get, a more, pronounced move here at some point in the very near future. So this is definitely one to watch. RSI is, not quite above 50, but it's trying to get there. Volume picking up a little bit on the bullish side. But watch the 10 EMA. That's going to be your key. And then this area right here, if it can close above this old resistance area, maybe it gets a move to 20 cents, right? Maybe it gets a move up here to 20 cents. That's going to be the next area. And if I throw fibs on it, let's go see where she's stalling at right now. Don't know that the 23.6. No. Okay. So 38.2 kind of lines up, doesn't it? It still hangs below this big red candle. So XRP could definitely make a new, move right here. Close above the 20 and then push up here to the 50 and the upper Bollinger Band and 38.2. Nice confluence right there. That'll probably be a hard rejection area. So just watch that if you're trading it. Take profits. If you're in now and you get that move, take some profits. Don't be afraid to take profits, okay? All right, questions or chart requests? Let's go look at Litecoin just real quick. Litecoin's kind of funny. It's one of those that when you look at it, it almost kind of leads the market in a way. It's weird. I don't know why. But it can and it does from time to time. But when we're looking at it on a daily chart, we have to be mindful of this, right? Candlestick patterns work, guys. And they work for a reason. Okay? You had a bullish engulfing right over here, higher price, consolidation, but you get a bearish engulfing right here with that red candle overtaking the green. So technically, until it gets above the 10 EMA right there, this is bearish. So you do not need to be buying just yet. This still has potential to go lower. Okay? This is chop zone. Chop zone on Litecoin. All right, questions, chart requests, or shall I go into the whole COVID-19 thing? Depending on where you live, and guys, this is a really, at first, everybody liked to joke about it that it was some sort of plan by the Democrats to, get Trump or whatever. It's when you look at what's going on in the world, and if you live in New York City, and I've got a friend of mine that lives in California, this is nothing to mess with. Okay, this is a very, very serious disease. So anybody that's trying to poo-poo it off as some sort of scam or political thing, just get that out of your heads. This is real life stuff. Okay. Just get it out of your heads. This is real life stuff. Now, the good news is that we have a lot of smart people here in the United States, and for that matter, all around the world. So it's just a matter of time before somebody comes up with a vaccine or some sort of something that'll slow this thing down, right? It just takes time. And when it does, you're probably going to see a move in the markets like you've never witnessed before. And hence my reason why, if you go look at, let's go look at the stock market, for instance. S&P 500, nice move off the lows here. This goes way back over here, 2139 does. Didn't quite get there, but it made a nice reversal pattern right here and came up and tested the 38.2. Not surprising that it retraced off of that, but it's coming back to the 10 EMA, and that's where it closed out on Friday. So, for all you stock market people or 401k holders, this is one of those things where you just got to watch this area. That's going to be a huge area. If it gets past that, you're going to be looking at probably 2,900 on the S&P. But in my opinion, I don't consider this a V bottom just yet. It's got the makings that it could be, but boy, there's a lot of stuff going on right there. And this is going to be huge for the United States if they can turn this virus around and at least slow it. As long as people see that the infections are slowing down, that's going to be... That's what the market is focusing on right now. Just telling you, it's focusing on that. Okay? And I brought up Dow Jones Transports in the stock channel on Discord. This is another one too. You have to watch, right? Didn't quite get to 38.2, but that right there, folks, is a morning star, right? That's like a bottoming formation, right? Despite all the news you hear, that right there, and it'll be retested, right? Could come all the way back to here and fill the gap, because it left one right there, fill the gap, and then just turn this thing around. So let's watch the next couple of days to maybe a couple weeks and see what happens on this. Okay? Once we start seeing the transports turn around, and maybe even this right here, maybe get a retest back to on the Dow, back to what? Just a touch under 20? Just a touch under 20K? All right, questions? Didn't mean to ramble, but go ahead. Questions or chart requests? And by the way, let's go see how my pounding on the table on Jets worked. I think I was pounding it right back here. Right around 12. Ended up, if you bought the ETF, you probably had a move from, at the minimum, let's just call it 15, up to, easy buck or two. And I don't think that's the end of it, I don't think that's the end of it, but time will tell. It's going to take a while, right? But after that huge drop, it's not like people aren't going to be flying again, folks. I'm just telling you. They will be flying again. Let's go look at Delta Airlines. That was one of the ones I was pounding the table on too. And who cares if S&P downgraded their credit rating? Nice of them to do that after such a huge drop. Very coincidental. Saw that crap back in the 2008, 2007 area. Saw that crap too. People getting their credit rating dropped. Well, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. You're doing it now, right? After such a huge drop. Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, that's just how the markets work, right? All right, crypto. So you're just XRP. Where'd you get in at? Hopefully you got a good price. Oh, let's go take a look at it. Excuse me. Yeah, I still like it, as long as it holds that 10 EMA, right? I would love to see it close above that 20 and just get up in this area and then just start marching higher. That would be good stuff. Let's go look at, here's something funny. DGB here lately. There's been, not that I can see, any news or whatever, and this is probably just a technical move, but this thing finally bottomed out here around 52 and, came up and hit the 61.8 at 72. So 20 sat move. Maybe this thing is trying to build a bottom in here, and as long as it can keep making higher highs, big area of resistance here. Next area of resistance 78, and then of course the big one right here around 85. So if DGB can bust above 85, it's got some. This thing could get legs, right? So still like DGB for the long term. We'll see how that plays out. Let's go look at ETH, Ethereum. For those of you wanting to see it. Volume is just pretty much dried off, right, on this move here. So people are expecting, at least, it seems like, lower prices here, and then maybe we get one of those flush outs and then rebound. I just want to see it retest somewhere in this area and hold. If it can, that's a bottom formation that it's trying to do, right? You just got to be patient with it, guys. All right, questions or chart requests, please. ZRX, yeah, it's been a while. Let me go look at ZRX. Always been one of my favorites. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll tell you what, just my honest opinion, and I could be wrong. I think it's coming down here. I think it's coming down to probably 10 cents. Maybe might test 13 or 12 and a half, and then maybe 10. Maybe we're going to get that one final flush out, but I would be a buyer down in this zone right here. 10 cents, I'll be a buyer all day long. All day long. But right here, it's kind of hard to say, right? Because you got your Bollinger Bands coming in, getting tighter. This thing could come back and test the lower part of that Bollinger Band, and that's going to be right there in that 10 cent area, 10, 11 cents. Okay? Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to refresh the page again. That's getting blurry. Hang on. At the lows, you just got to be real careful in here. Real careful. Me personally, I would rather wait until it came back and retested that low again and then maybe go higher. Either that or you play the break, right? You play the break above 17, but you're in no man's land right here. No man's land. And it's just, you're tying up capital, right? You're just tying up capital. I'm not saying it can't move up and test the 20, but I'm just saying be real careful and be quick about taking your profits, okay? follow the trading plan. I think we went over this back on BTC. Back in here, I think we were talking about, if you follow the trading plan, guys, okay, when you start breaking out, it doesn't mean that you have to just, buy it and then sell it all, right? Just buy it and then sell part of it. Get your original capital out, let it ride. If it comes back and stops you out, then so be it. It's a free trade, right? But you could also ride it higher if you got a little bit of a longer term perspective, right? So right here, when things broke out, people were right in here, people were buying. It was consolidating. So that's March, right? And here we are, March 28th. And guess what? March 29th, April 1st is when Bitcoin made the big move above the 200 and the 233. I'm not saying that's happening here, but we got to be cognizant of that, right? Is that let the moving averages come down and get into a range and get tighter, right? This is when Bitcoin made its big move. Look at this. The 200 and the 233 came all the way down here, but by that time, your smaller moving averages were getting bullish. Okay? And once they finally got into this very close to each other, that's when you get the move, and it turned the 233 and the 200. Okay? And I was talking about back in here that things would come back and retest the 200 and the 233, which they did, recovered, but then took the big dump right here, and it's going to take a little bit of time to recover from that one. All right, that was such a massive drop that it's going to take a little bit of time, right? This thing could extend, depending on what Bitcoin does, right? I hate to say this, but I just don't think it's just going to boom, go right up here to 8,000. And if I'm wrong, I'll come on the channel and I'll admit it. But I don't see it right now. I see at least another month of, maybe the next 2-3 weeks to a month, just sideways action, whippy, just watch it. Chop zone. All right, questions or chart requests? I'm done babbling. And guys, I'll look at stocks, ETFs, gold, crude oil, whatever you want me to look at, I'll look at. All right, questions, chart requests, please, guys. You got me for just a little bit here, so. Take advantage of me. Somebody's got to have questions. Come on. Questions or a chart request, please. Okay, I'm just going to start thumbing through some stuff then until somebody comes up with something. Link. We talked about this one. Staying below the 200 and the 233, 10 10 EMA is just driving this thing, right? Until it can get sustained above it, this is not one to buy just yet. Okay? So be careful of Link. Also be careful of XTZ. These were high flyers, right? They've all come crashing back down to earth, and everybody's back to where they were, back over here. Okay? You got this downtrend line right here, which it cannot break above, which coincides with the 20 EMA. So the good news for XTZ is that it is holding the 200 and the 233-day moving average. You got this bullish engulfing over here, which is holding price up. So as long as it can stay above, let's call it 145, then XTZ should be decent. I'm not going to call it great, but it's decent. It still has the potential to move back to sub $1. Hey, Thomas. Yeah, let me look at the dominance chart real quick. Okay, and here we go. So Bitcoin is losing some of its dominance, right? And why? Okay, this is a daily chart. And if you go and look, and I'm going to scroll in so you can see it real good. Okay. See this pattern right up here? This thing was dominant, green stick, doji, and then a red stick. That's a reversal pattern. Okay? And it just so happens that it reversed right at the 200-day moving average, right there in blue. Okay? The blue is the 200-day moving average. Reversed inside day, and then your next day is a confirmation red stick. RSI weakening, and so what do we have now? Okay, well, you know, one could do this, right? Excuse me. Let's go over here, and you could always do this. You could always throw on a trend line, right? So there's your trend line, okay? And then you could also look and say, well, it's got this little gap right here, which is pretty rare on a non-futures, crypto, right? You see this. Only on the futures chart do you see gaps, right? But I think this one did. Low here was 65 and the high 64.89. So minor gap right here. So what does that tell me? Is that that's a possibility that it's going to come back and fill that gap. Okay? So Bitcoin dominance, excuse me, just watch the trend line, right? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You get your 200, 233. I do not like that those two crossed that way, right? As you can always see, this thing always moves better when you get those going and coinciding with each other just like that, right? So we'll see. RSI again, weakening, still strong, but weakening. And then you get the strong reversal at the top right here at the 200-day moving average. So I guess if you want to look at, and I'm curious to see where this gap lines up with, so let's do a Fibonacci on it. Just curious. And lo and behold, 50% retracement, right? Could wick right down to here, wick a little bit below, and be okay. and fill it and then maybe go higher. But right now, the 38.2 is going to be the one to watch. That's the more important one. 38.2, 61.8. Those are your two more important fibs, right? 78.6 usually gets a nice bounce, right, off of it as well. But bullish-wise, if this thing's bullish, it should not break the 38.2. Especially with this kind of strong move that it's had. You want to see, and I would love to see it hold the 20, but as we've seen, you know, the moving averages, you can wick below those and then close right back above them. These are just Fibonacci levels, okay, to watch for. A lot of stuff to be watching. So that is Bitcoin dominance chart. I'm curious. Let's go look at it on a weekly chart. You know, it had a nice bullish engulfing right there. And this is just an inside day, basically, so far. Big long wick out the top. And when I see long wicks out either the top or the bottom, and I'm not sure if you guys ever look at this or even think about it, but when you see long wicks, right, out the top or the bottom of candles, that's kind of like what's called an inventory retracement. Okay, so that's going to be resistance, obviously. This is support down here, support down here. So watch those areas. Everything in between is noise. Okay? Everything in between is noise. And for those of you guys that are like want to scalp, okay? And everybody wants to know about this, right? You don't have to just swing trade. You don't have to just buy it and hold it, right? Everybody wants to know about swing trading. So if you're looking at stuff like that, you have to adjust your charts, right? Okay? Get a 4-hour chart up. Get a 1-hour chart up. And just watch and see where your indicators are. If you see indicators all at the top, okay, all at the top or all at the bottom on most of your time frames, then that tells you it's more important area to watch. Okay? More important area to watch. And not just that, but look at the RSI right here on the 1-minute chart of Bitcoin. You know, that was yesterday. Huge drop, dropped way into oversold, and then bounced sharply off of that, and now it's just retracing that area. So if one was a swing trader, and I'm sorry, that's a dominance chart. Let me get over to Bitcoin. Here's a 1 hour. Oversold. And then lower price, higher indicator. Could that be a bullish divergence? It could be. It's very possible. So if you're playing it, okay, and you have to keep things in perspective, if you're wanting to play this, you could buy now, keep a stop loss somewhere just below where all of these wicks are. Okay? Look where the wicks are. Okay? Just so you don't get wicked out. Because if it drops below 61.80, you're going to get stopped, right? So maybe put your stop loss in around 61.65. And maybe your return is 63.80. possibly even 63.24. So you get $100, right? So everything is like, it's time-wise, right? How long are you willing to stay in the trade? Let's go look at a 30-minute chart. And this is rather impressive, okay? Bullish engulfing on the 30-minute chart. So Bitcoin was dropping, and then all of a sudden it reversed course. So there was a big buyer down here at 6,000. 6,000, big buyer. And then price reversed and came right back. And now the Bollinger Bands are tight again on a 30-minute chart, getting closer. So watch this. Watch this stuff. You can scalp this, right? So there's your area. When it came back and retraced after that bullish engulfing, the low was right there, 61.54. So if you're buying right now, you're saying to yourself, okay, then I'll stay in it, but below 61.54, and I'm out. Does that make sense? All right. I've rambled on enough. Questions or chart requests? And that's interesting too, because that could, on a 30-minute chart, you could almost look at this as like a shoulder, head, and possible shoulder with a move back maybe down to 61.28. That's interesting. And then neckline right here. Let's just call it, let's just do it this way. There you go. So a break above, and that just so happens to be right where the 50 EMA is, in the upper Bollinger Band. This thing could, very possibly, and I'm not calling it just yet, but at least on a 30-minute chart, if the pattern can hold, you got high volume coming in here on this shoulder. Not quite lower volume, but close. And then real low volume right here. So this thing could potentially make a move up to here. Let's call it 6,600. And if we did a measured move on it, let's just do this. Let's go. All right, so if I did this, and let's just call it somewhere in here, maybe. Yeah. If it drops back here, then your move is to 6,400. If it holds here, then your move is to 6,450. On a break of that trend line. So, we'll see. But right now, at least, when you look at it on a 30-minute chart, I think your resistance area is pretty well defined. Okay? So keep an eye on that. What do I think will be impact of money printing to crypto? Good question, Thomas. Very good question. All right, so I've been around this for a long, long time, right? And I saw it back in Well, 2000 was a little bit different because I think back then the interest rate was around 6%. And the Fed had plenty of room to be able to drop interest rates. 2008, I think the interest rate back then was probably 4%, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. But then they went all the way to zero with the financial crisis and started doing their quantitative easing, stuff and just printing money. And I think it's funny because I saw somebody post, and it's a great question, right? Excuse me. Is that if the Fed can just print money for whatever reason and just throw it out there, then why are we paying taxes? And it's a darn good question when you think about it. So we are slaves to this economy. And right now we're trying to maintain, or at least the USA is, and I don't know how many people are from outside the United States, but we're trying to maintain our dominance of being the world's reserve currency. And at some point, history shows that, that just doesn't stay forever, right? Somebody else always comes along and has a better economy and a better currency or a better way of doing things. And we have printed so much money worldwide that I just think the United States, and as much as it pains me to say this, because, I'm a patriot, I love the country, everything we've done, I think at some point it's going to bite us in the ass. And we have so much debt, and this right here, what we're going through, has put us into even more debt that at some point you have to pay the piper. And that's why you see people flocking to gold, because they think the dollar is going to collapse. It's going to kill our way of life. It's going to kill the currency. So you have to keep an eye on the dollar index as well, right? And so if I was to go do that, and let's go take a look at it real quick. Let's go look at a weekly chart of the dollar index. Okay, and so back here in the late 80s, USA was on top of the world, right? We're beating Russia, we're driving them back, and then all of a sudden you get a reversion back. Okay? Then you get into where Bill Clinton took over and he wants a stronger dollar. Okay? And that lasted until George Bush took over, who was a Republican, and he got the dollar down. And that basically what it does is it helps the emerging markets. When you have a cheaper dollar, it helps emerging markets because, we're trying to make things as far as like people wanting to bring stuff into our country. What are we going to charge them? And eventually, I think where this probably all boils down to, and look at this, by the way. Trump took over right here in January, and the dollar weakened, right? Is that a surprise? Republican president. And then we're starting to get the stronger dollar based on the economy, and then we're getting some whipsaw action right here. So it just looks like, and on a weekly chart, that's a bearish engulfing. The dollar is in big trouble, right? It's in big trouble, at least for the next couple of weeks. So what is that going to do to markets? I mean, to me, what that says is that it's going to help emerging markets. whether that be Venezuela, whether it be Brazil, whether it be, you name the country where their currencies are less than the dollar, that's going to help them. So just keep an eye on the dollar index. Excuse me. Keep an eye on the dollar index. Dollar yen. Pound. Knew that was going lower based on what's his name getting the coronavirus, but bullish engulfing on the pound. So maybe the dollar is going to weaken here and we get to move back to the mean, right? Yeah, the ECB, all the world banks, it cracks me up. Things are not the way they used to be. It used to be that, the Fed would raise rates, lower rates, based on the economy. Now, every central bank in the world is negative rates, or they're going that way. And the USA is headed that way, as much as it pains me to say. And that's going to hurt the dollar big time. And who's going to be the big gainer out of this? You mentioned it, Thomas, China. Make no mistake, guys. And I'm not racist. I have nothing against Chinese people that are living here in the United States. But as far as that dictatorship goes over there, make no mistake in your mind. They do want to rule the world. Okay? They want to rule the world. And they want their currency as the dominant currency. They want the yuan as the dominant currency. And Russia hates us. That's why you're seeing oil prices drop like they are. They want to get us out of the oil market. I mean, we were a net exporter of oil, energy independent for the first time in a long time, and that worried them. We don't have to depend on Saudi Arabia. We don't have to depend on Russia. We don't need their oil. And all of a sudden you get this. Oil prices drop. And they're trying to break us. It's a war. It's not a physical war, but it's a currency and dollar war, right? And we're going to find out who wins this thing before too long. And the only problem with that is that we have so much debt. And if we go to the bond market, TNX, that's the 10-year. And this one pretty much, basically this gives you an idea of where interest rates are going. And possibly where the economy might be going. We are basically falling in Japan's footsteps, right? We're at 0.75 right now on a closing basis. The low was 0.36, I think. This thing, right there, it made a nice bounce back. Looked like, we're trying to recover. Fed's trying to buy bonds and get this thing turned around. But, man alive. I just, this thing has got to turn quick. Otherwise, we're going negative rates. God, that is just incredible. Incredible. We have gone from... Yeah, Here's a week. It's a weekly chart, but my gosh, back when that financial crisis happened, fours all the way down to, let's see, when Trump took over, right in here, bottomed out around 2, and then went to 3. And all of a sudden we're back down here, new lows. Pretty scary stuff. Let's look at a monthly. And yeah. Scary stuff, guys. Pretty scary. And I will say this, here's the other thing. If all the money that the Fed is pumping in, and if this virus goes away, we know we're going to see an economic boom, right? But what are we going to see? We're going to see inflation like you've never seen before. So this 10-year note could go V, and all of a sudden the Fed is going to have to start chasing that and start raising rates, right? So we're going to have to watch that as well, because at some point, we don't want to end up back here, right? That was like back when Reagan took over. That was in the late 70s when Carter had it. Interest rates in the United States were at 15%. 15 or higher. I mean, that's crazy stuff right there. Reagan came in, and then interest rates started dropping. We're starting to bottom out. So when this thing does bottom out, rates are going to start going higher. And that's, I think, why you have to keep your eye on gold as well. Okay? Keep your eye on gold. Everybody loves gold in an inflationary environment. Okay? And so if we'll go over to, let's go to, I think I got gold over here. Let me look and see where I got it. Commodities. I think I put it under, let me see where I put gold at. Oh, ETFs. GDX. Okay. So there's gold. We already know where the resistance is. At least on GDX, 31.86. It's at 24.37 right now. Nice bottom here. Just basing right in here, and the moving average is holding up pretty well. This thing has a potential to just rocket higher at any time. Crude oil, and that's a monthly. But as I've said before, just because it drops way below it, it's going to eventually come back and retest. Now, this is going to take time. This is a lot of technical damage right in here. But it's found its support zone right in here, around 19, right? So if me, I would be, crude oil could get all the way down to $10 a barrel. I mean, it's possible. I mean, if Russia and China are really trying to screw us, they could take this all the way to $10 a barrel. And that would screw the guys that are in the fracking business. But price is way outside Bollinger Bands. Let's go to a weekly. Way outside Bollinger Bands. Okay. Let's go to a daily. And we're back inside Bollinger Bands. So it's going to take a lot of time for this to work itself out, right? This is not going to happen overnight. And what that tells me, just looking at it, is that, oil is used for airplanes, it's used for transports. This virus is going to take a long time. So we're probably looking at somewhere in the summer before we finally start seeing these things flatten out and then possibly turning up. Okay? All right, let's see. IBB, that's the biotechnology indicator. That's the ETF. That looks good. Bottomed out. Of course, that's going to be huge with all the crypto stuff that's going on. They're going to try to, all those companies within it. The biggest one to me, though, is the Russell 2000. And I'll go over, I think I had indexes. There it is. I think I had fibs. There we go. Russell 2000. This is probably one of the biggest indicators to look at when it comes to the stock market. This is all the small businesses, right? It's not the major big corporations. This is small business, right? And you want this to go higher if you want America to recover, right? So this is the one we need to be watching real close. We had the morning star right there. Maybe a pullback to here, and then hopefully a march higher. God help us. Let's hope so. Okay? Let's hope so. Yeah, Thomas. Negative interest rates have been around in Europe for quite a while. And Japan, I think, has done it. It's just a matter of time before it hits the United States. All right? Just a matter of time. Let's go look at maybe some other alts. It's funny. ETC. God, remember this one? I mean, look at that. That almost looks like, when you're looking at a daily chart, that almost looks like Matic. What Matic went through. Just made the pop out of nowhere, although Matic did it in like 2 days. But similar pattern, right? You get the pop and the crash. And it's going to go sideways for quite a while. And then, just like here, you're going to get sideways action and then some lower lows and then bust out. So that's why I'm saying just be careful in this area, guys. This thing could just go lower, right? The whole market. Okay. Watch that 10 EMA on your daily BTC. Okay, watch that. It was resistance, didn't break above it. All these little moves you're seeing over here. Just watch it. Watch that 10 EMA. And it's acting as resistance. Go over to a 30-minute chart. Watch this. And basically what we're watching for is right here. 50 EMA. 6,300. That's what we want to break above, guys. Okay? 6,300. Break above that EMA and the upper Bollinger Band. 63.20. So 100 points away. Just chop zone stuff. All right. Any questions, guys? And by the way, my red alert worked out pretty darn well, right? Hopefully you guys had stop losses. But I called the red alert back in here. Everything was around 6,700. And we dropped, 700 points? Whippy. Just stop losses, red alert. Usually the red alert doesn't work until like maybe 2 days, but it came early. But anyway. If I put the red alert out, guys, I don't do it just to do it. If I put a red alert out on something, that means buckle up. Stop losses in place, or watch your positions very closely. And to clarify, if I put a yellow alert out, it just means that, be cautious. Right? It's not like end of the world stuff or big wild move, but it means that something's coming. I mean, you just kind of stay on the sidelines. All right, guys, any questions? I'll give it a 5-minute call here. 5 minutes. All right, guys. Give it a minute here. If you guys have any questions, chart requests? All right. I'm going to call it a night, guys. Y'all have a good one. I'll be around in channel, and we will talk soon. Appreciate everybody coming in, and we'll talk at you later. Take care, guys.